I am continuing my series on ballet bloopers. This one is Ballet West, Nutcracker, and Waltz of the Flowers, Pas de Deux. There are moments on stage that are so humbling that all one can do is accept one's fate. While ballet is designed to look effortless, it is obviously not. In the Waltz of the Flowers, Pas de Deux with Ballet West, I had a stunning and embarrassing ending to that ballet that no one ever wants to experience. This particular dance is especially hard at the very end because of the lift that works perfectly for the ending crescendo of the music of this part of Tchaikovsky. The lift I am speaking of appears as the woman runs, leaps up into the air, while the man grabs her hips from the front and lifts her up over his head as she floats effortlessly like a bird above him. She seems to be suspended in time and space and in the air. Then he bends his knees and his arms slightly to flip her around and circle clockwise, and as she is falling, he grabs her left leg and her waist and then bends his left leg to support the weight of her falling body and extends his right leg for support. She ends in a position where her legs are higher than her head, so it appears to be death-defying, and her right leg bends backwards and supports some of the weight on his back and extends her left leg in a beautiful line and view from the front while opening her arms out to the side after the spin with them close to her body and around her chest. The end of the music goes yun da 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 dun dun da dun 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 dun, and it ends on the final cue in the final position. The music ends with this death-defying move, and there is a moment when the audience wonders if the ballerina is going to smash her head into the floor. This lift is one of trust and takes expertise. The ballerina seems suspended just before she hits the floor. The music is beautiful, and the moment is special. The music of Tchaikovsky was specifically designed for dancers, and his music is wonderful in how he allows the music to show off the best of a dancer's precision with the culmination of a powerful ending that almost always is picture perfect when it works right. It is amazing how in life you can do a lift over and over and never fall in the studio during a rehearsal. But suddenly in a performance, everything can go wrong. And suddenly will. This particular night, the fates decided to cut one of our strings. I was dancing with a highly competent Bob Arbogast, known for his boyish charm and smile. In this pas de deux, we really never had any problem with this dance, that life or that lift or that ending. But in the performance, things can get slightly skewed. Lighting is different, and small things can just be enough that we suddenly do things that we would not normally do. In this case, I am up in the air over Bob's head, floating like a bird, and as I feel Bob bend his knees and his arms to pop me up into the air so that I can spin, I detect a very subtle difference in the motion. His left arm pushes more than usual. Instantly, I know that I'm going to be pushed away from him rather than directly under him. As I am spinning in the air, I know I am going to fall. I am heading towards the orchestra pit and the end of the stage. In that turn, in turn was going to cause Bob to be reaching forward to grab me, and I am not a small, tiny girl that weighs only 100 pounds. Catching me in front of his own body weight to counterbalance me is not going to work. As I was afraid that I was going to fall into the pit, I also decided to try to put my right leg down to brace myself rather than pull it up behind. But in a heroic move to save the end position and his lift, he scooped my leg right out from underneath me and instead I slammed my right knee into the wood floor. He grabbed me around the waist, but his weight was too far forward. It ended with me slamming my head into the floor and Bob falling on top of me, just as the final notes of the music end. Now, there's nothing like hearing the whole audience go, "Oh!" My head flatly says silently, "Oh, I guess they saw that." We untangle ourselves and we try to get up as gracefully as we can, bow, and leave the stage. While I am falling, I remember looking at the conductor that night, Ardeen Watts. I can still see his look of horror as I am falling as his baton is up. And I see he is afraid that I'm going to fall into the pit also. As I bow, I smile timidly at Ardeen. You can tell that he is looking at my leg and my head. It is not until I'm off stage that I realize that my knee is bleeding through my tights, and my head is also bleeding from a scratch near my head hairline. Considering that I hit that hard, I consider myself lucky, but I had a hell of a bruise on my knee for weeks afterwards. But once again, the ballet is not over, and I have no time to get out of that tutu and change tights to stop the bleeding. I try just to stop the bleeding as best I can and finish the coda and the ballet. As I am backstage afterwards with Bob, he is despondent. He does not drop ballerinas. He is devastated. I am trying to console him after the show and trying to make a joke out of it. I say to him, Bob, look at it like this. We made the worst mistake possible on stage. Now that will never happen again. Lightning does not strike twice in the same place. We may make 100 more mistakes, but not that one. We are going to be on high alert for that one. He tries to smile, but he's not really buying my argument. I notice Ardeen Watts watching me over by the front of the stage. I go down the stairs to the dressing room, and as I go down the hallway, there are core dancers laughing, giggling, and making comments that are less than nice about me falling. I hear, "Did you see that? So embarrassing. She went splat in a performance." I walk past them as they stop talking when they see me and slightly giggle. I go to my dressing room and I sit down exhausted and take a look at how bad things are. I am out of my tutu and I have my robe on and my tights off, looking at my knee and my head, which are both bruising and discoloring as I observe them. I make a note that they are both shortly going to be a very dark shade of purple, never a good sign. When I hear a knock on my dressing room door, I open the door to see Ardeen Watts, the conductor, standing there with a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. He smiles broadly and says, "I thought a bit of champagne might be in order." I laugh and say, "Is that for my head or my knee?" He laughs and says, "I thought it might work better from the inside rather than the outside." And we both laugh. I invite him in and he pops the cork in a celebratory fashion and says, "A toast." I look at him with wry confusion. Exactly why are we celebrating? He says, looking at me seriously, "I have watched every principal or soloist dancer fall from that lift at one time or another in a performance, but my toast is to you, because I have never seen a ballerina deal more graciously with their partner after a fall from that lift more than you. Most ballerinas are so focused on the fact that they got dropped and that they felt that it made them look bad that they do not console their partner. They lamb-blast him instead. He is already feeling horrible, and they make it about them, and the male has to just take it. So, a toast. Thank you for being so kind and making a joke and trying to console your partner rather than beat him up more than he already was." Then he lifts a glass to me. I toast back and say, "Thank you." I will love Ardeen forever for that one special moment. He was a kind and gentle man. He was older and wiser than myself, and he understood the sacrifices that it takes to make great art. Ballet and all artists literally leave their own blood on the stages of their life. Our sweat goes into the floors and the walls hold our most cherished dreams. I am sure some of us will linger in the audiences floating above, relishing the next generation of artists that strive to be better, and I hope that they remember that many came before them with the same dreams and the same hopes and desires. I hope that they can feel the stones that we have laid and that it gives them more courage to have faith in themselves to reach further, leap higher, and spin faster. While the competition exists as we are dancers, When we are older and beyond the trappings of ego and the striving of perfection, we are every dancer's advocate. We want them to win. We want them to succeed. Even dead, we will give them our faith and belief that they can do it better than us. The foundation of a theater is actually the dreams of the artists that came before. The blood of the theater is the passion that still lingers and hovers on the stage because of every generation before them. The heartbeat of the theater is the pounding of the many feet that have walked, danced, and wandered through the various landscapes and performances. No performer is without the energy of other performers. They're wanting to help and give inspiration and support. All artists are family. All artists know what drives a soul to strive for impossible perfection. I am grateful to all of those that have helped me along the way and gave me those special moments that will be forever remembered. And even dead, I plan to come when called or when I am attracted to the fervent desires of someone who needs a bit of wisdom that I might carry. Theaters are portals that move through many times and places. They are sacred and wonderfully magical spots. I hope you go and feel the excitement and wonder that is there if one is willing to be open and to notice the magic that still exists, because a theater is a living, breathing thing.